to start with Pitt and ask if he will tell us about how did you get started?
Well, it was an unanticipated moment. I actually was in, Acapulco, as you mentioned, and I was, I guess I was just out of college, so I was probably 23 years old, and I was down there with a girlfriend, and she was shopping in a dress shop, and so so we get to the cash, she's checking out, and on the wall behind the cashier is the Montoya, and so I say to her, "Is that for sale?" And she said, "Well, no, I mean, it's owned by the owner of the business, but I did hear her say the other day, if any fool will pay me $300 for that, I'll take it." And so I said to her, I said, "Well, go tell her you just met the fool." That was the beginning purchase. And of course, the art has been such a great pleasure of my life, and of course Barbara's as well. And so we really, I mean, one of the great benefits of having the good fortune of being successful in business is to be able to live around great art, and we've certainly enjoyed it, and it's enhanced our life so much.
Well, so I'm going to ask each of you the same story, because I think you each have pretty great stories about how you got started. Alice, do you mind going next?
I'll be happy to. My only connection to art is that I love to draw and do watercolors. And my allowance when I was growing up was a nickel a week. And my daddy had the 5 and dime store. And there was this beautiful Picasso blue nude for 25 cents. So I dusted, all the things in the store, sold popcorn in front, and after a summer I got my Picasso blue nude. I was about 12 or 13.
That's right, you worked for it.
That's how it started.
Elliott, how about you?
I didn't grow up around art, and it all started for me. Charles Barkley had taken a group of us over to Japan back in '96 or
Houston,
96. And Darryl Walker, who was coaching at the time, and I knew Darryl. Darryl lived in Little Rock, so we known each other. We sat together on the plane. He just started talking to me about art, and I didn't know anything about art. And so after going over there 16 hours and then coming back and listening to Darryl for another 16 hours, man, this guy really passionate about what he's talking about. But he convinced me when the season started in basketball. I was in Milwaukee at the time when the season started. In Phoenix at the time when the season started. He would always call me like, "Hey, I see you in Boston. Go by John Wilson's studio. I see you in New York. Hey, go by Bill Hines. Go by Michael Rosenfeld. I see you." He was just telling me all, and he was sending me all these catalogs and books, and so I was just reading for about a year. And then that next summer, I went to Little Rock to see Dr. Walter Evans' collection, and I saw his collection, and I thought, it was another doctor who was collecting African American artists. I thought, I'm going to do this for the next 30 or 40 years. Like, that's what I want my collection to look like. And I saw him collecting at the highest level. Elizabeth Catlett, Alvin Thomas, all of these artists. And so I just dug my heels in and really started collecting. But I really credit Darryl Walker with really getting me started with introducing me to art.
Was the Elizabeth Catlett your first?
No, Catlett was not my first. I purchased a print. I can't remember the guy's name. My first print I purchased was called Tennessee Tea Taster. I can't remember the guy's name right now, but it was just a print. And again, after seeing Dr. Walter Evans' collection, I thought, I really wanted to collect fine art. I wanted to collect at the highest level. I really wanted my collection to be of quality, and so that's what I started doing.
Well, so Alice, I'm going to start with you to ask, what is the most memorable object that you have ever acquired?
Wow.
There are so many, I know.
That's a big question. Well, I'll tell you, her name is Jean, and she's by a lesser-known artist by the name of Alfred Maurer. And she is his masterpiece, and she's in our Crystal Bridges collection. So I saw this painting, and she's actually a lady of the night, right? In Paris in 1904, with a cigarette hanging out her lips, dead doves on her hat, and the most beautiful black, all black. And when you look closely, she has blood coming out her lips. So a friend of mine had told me how great this painting was, and so I had it sit down and I saw it, the Kimball Constellation, and I had put it up for me. I went, oh my gosh, how can I live with this? This is a really scary woman. And I just took a leap because it was truly an extraordinary painting. So after 15 years of living with her, when the art trucks came to take everything out of my house to Crystal Bridges, which was really hard, there was one painting that I missed that I didn't know if I could live without, and it was Jean. And so through her, I got to know what art could do and be for a person in terms of the layers that open up, which is what happens with art. So I would say Jean is the most important piece, because through her I learned about all those layers underneath this difficult woman and how sensitive and beautiful she really was. So I learned a lot from Jean.
What about you?
It's hard to, pick one out, but, I'll go back to the Tinker Mackerel that you showed the picture of Marston Hartley. And the reason I go to that is actually, that was the first early American modernist painting that Barbara and I bought. Actually, we were dating at the time. And that really, started us on that trail. My mother was a great student of European modernism. And so I grew up, reading the books, and when we were in New York, we'd always go to the art galleries. And I had a real appreciation for early American art, modernism. But at the time we bought the Tinker Mackerel, it was out of favor. All the critics were saying, American art was just derivative of European modernism. And of course, I thought it really had a unique quality all its own, and was definitely on the leading edge. So we started collecting it then, and we sort of, over time, worked from early American modernism to abstract expressionism, but it really started with the Tinker Mackerel. And of course, Marston Hartley is still, probably our favorite of that whole period. And I guess we have, probably 6 or 7 Hartleys in our collection. But that, if I just looked at, the collection as a whole, maybe the Dievenkorn, the Ocean Bark series might be, one I might like the best right
That's your
now.
Jean.
Yeah, I've evolved over time. Let's put it that way.
Family seems to play a very strong role in your collecting, and Elliott and yours as well. And Alice, I know you're close to your nieces and nephews. Talk about that a little bit. Who wants to go first?
I'll shoot at it. I think one, first of all, my wife and I, we were dating. I would drag her to what they call the National Black Fine Arts Show in New York. It was at the Polk Building. And we would go every year, and we would spend 2 days there and just look at art, walk around New York in cold weather, and so. But I also think that she's an artist at heart too. I mean, she's a big fan of mid-century modern furniture. I didn't know anything about mid-century modern, so she has introduced me to that, and also just the architect of a lot of the homes. So I view that as that she's an artist in herself. A lot of the decisions that we make, I mean, we go back and forth. I mean, I'm such a lover of art. I'm so drawn to it. I'm so committed to it that, I mean, I'll get my last penny, you know, piece of art before sometimes I do something to my own home, you know, and I know it needs some repair at times. But, you know, anyway, I think, you know, she's been fantastic on the journey because she's allowed me to do a lot of this. And also she's come along with the journey in terms of looking at the artwork and saying, you know, I like this, I don't like that. We've made a lot of decisions together, but we've also followed a lot of work too. My daughter, you know, I think for my daughter, my hope is that, you know, just being around the art, living with the art every day, that she gains a greater appreciation for artwork and art, you know, not really understanding it yet, but she doesn't have to understand it as much as I want her to appreciate it.
I've had the honor of being in your home, and I was struck by how in Morgan's room, and Morgan, I'm sorry I'm bringing this up, but that she's surrounded by magnificent art that works really well in her room, so she's living with it on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, I mean, again, that's you know, that's my hope. I think, you know, for me, this is not just collecting art, it's a mission. You know, this is a mission statement for me, and the mission statement is that this is preservation of history. You know, when you think about African American artists, they've always been, I would say, you know, placed at the bottom. But when I look at their work, even over time, I think they've done some fantastic work. I mean, you look at artists like all the way back to Duncanson, Tanner, and some of those artists, but even moving up to artists like Nolan Lewis and Alma Thomas, and then moving on up to the artists that I love, Kerry James Marshall, Kehinde Wiley, Glenn Ligon, Julie Moretu. You know, some of these artists that are doing abstract work and also figurative work are doing a fantastic job, and I think they belong in major museums just like anybody else. They're doing work, high quality work. If you want to look at minimalist work, you can look at Jenny C. Jones' work. If you want to look at abstract work, you can look at Julie Moretu. You can look at, if you want to look at figurative work, you can look at Kerry James Marshall. If you want to look at text-based work, you can look at Glenn Ligon. I mean, so many artists that are doing, you know, you want to look at artists who are pushing the boundaries and doing alternative materials. You can look at Kevin Beasley. You can look at the Esther Gates. I mean, it's just so many artists out there that are doing some fantastic work. And I just think, for me, this is a preservation of history to say that, you know, 100 years from now, whether this collection is together or not, that we played a part in it.
What about you? What about you, Alice?
Wow.
Just thinking about family and the role that family plays in this.
Well, I'm going to start with, I just heard a quote recently that I really love from George Bernard Shaw. And I'm going to get the quote wrong, but it'll be close. What I remember is he says, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you see your face. When you look at art, you see your soul. And that really struck me because my whole life, I mean, I'm a dreamer. And I grew up really without art as a part of my life, except what I did with my own hand. And that was always the dreamer part that I had. And so it was so special, but now, you know, once I started collecting, what's really been fun is, I don't have children, but I have wonderful nieces and nephews that are like my kids. And actually, even my brothers, I mean, everybody has, you know, we never had that background as kids growing up. So the whole family has joined in. We go on art trips together, we go on auctions together. my nieces and nephews come on Crystal Bridges museum trips. I mean, it's just been a wonderful, wonderful thing. And exhilarating for our family in a whole new world that we didn't know growing up. So.
And I think it's a big part of the Hyde family too.
Well, certainly, I mean, of course, and Barbara and our relationship really has always involved the art. And, I think the great thing about collecting is, I mean, where we start is, do we love the work and do we feel like living with it will enhance our lives? And I mean, it really does. I mean, every day I walk by this art and I get inspired by it, So it's a real passion of ours, and of course, we've exposed our children to it as well, and it's funny how they kind of when they're young they kind of think, well, blah blah blah, but as they learn more and more, all of a sudden they start really getting into it, and it's really interesting to see.
What about the Alexander Calder?
Oh, yeah, well, yeah,
The lion.
yeah, the lion. Well, it's such a whimsical piece. I mean, they've always loved that. And of course, the Mark Vesuvero, I mean, the thing just going, just got up and they're climbing all over it, which, of course, Mark loved. We asked him, well, is it all right for them to climb? Oh, sure, that's part of the fun of it, So.
But I think I heard that Barbara, that when the lion came, that Alex was scared about the lion at night, and so you went camping?
Yeah,
Pitched a tent next to the Calder. I mean, that's a way to raise your children around art. So, I know, Elliott, I'm really interested in at what moment, I mean, for Alice, this would be at what moment did you know that the passion that you had for collecting and the art collecting that you were doing would end up, I mean, to be Crystal Bridges? I mean, was there a moment when this all crystallized for you and you realized that this would be, for the...
I don't think I was that smart. I actually ran out of wall space.
As an art museum director, we love to hear that. We have a solution for you. No, but I mean, because it's a bodacious thing, and it has utterly changed the cultural landscape of this region. I always like to say that rising tides, float all boats, and we could feel it back when I was in Houston when Crystal Bridges opened in 2000. I mean, you could just feel it. There's this regional lift. Because what you have done, but it is a pretty bodacious thing. So, was it a few years into collecting? Was it, what?
I started collecting, museum quality things in probably 88, 89. And by 97, I was really thinking about, I was winding down my business career, and I was really thinking, about what I could do. That would make a difference in people's lives. And I knew people didn't really want my horses. And I thought, wow, if I could give people, I mean, what happened to me is when I saw the price tags on Great American Art, I decided I better learn what I was doing. And so that's when I started reading art history books. And that's when I just got totally enamored in what I've been doing for the last 25 years is reading art history books every second I can get. And what I've learned about this country, I mean, my education didn't start until that happened, is the way I look at it. And I thought, well, if I could share this, then I'm sharing something really important. So that's where it came from.
And I remember I think it was 15 years ago, and you were in Houston and met with the late Peter Marzio, who was my boss back at the Museum of Fine Arts Houston. And it was so funny because the staff knew that the second y'all would meet, we wouldn't see you for the rest of the day, and that's exactly what happened. And the reason is because Peter, who was very much, spent decades about making the museum accessible to all people, and you were building on your plans for Crystal Bridges and what that would do for the community of Bentonville more particularly, but the whole region as well. And it was kind of great to see, or to witness, a little bit of that concept and development.
He was one of my mentors, and really, encouraged me when I needed encouragement. That was really special.
Elliott, you thinking about when your decisions sort of change at one point, you were collecting, what we call canonical artists like Alma Thomas and Palmer Hayden and Elizabeth Catlett and so forth. I think you have a pretty good Catlett story that I hope you'll share. But at a certain point, you did make a conscientious decision to collect contemporary African-American artists. And I wondered if you would talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I did that for, collecting all of the artists that you talked about, Palmer Hayden and Catlett and Norman and Alma Thomas. And I went back and read Dr. Walter Evans' catalog. And what he talked about was, when he started collecting, African American artists could only show at libraries, or they could only have group shows at historically black colleges. They were never, showed in mainstream museums. And so the one thing that he wanted to do, he was living in Detroit at the time, was, he was having salons at his home, so he had this three-pronged approach. The first was he wanted to support the artist. So he wanted to support Jacob Lawrence, he wanted to support Bearden, he wanted to support Alfred Thomas and all of these artists. And so he would bring them to Detroit in his home and have salons. The second thing was he wanted to build relationships with the artists. And then the last thing was he wanted to collect the work. And so I thought, I can do that. So that day I made a conscious decision to do a 180. I called my good friend Dale Walker that day. I never will forget it. I said, "Hey Dale, I think I'm doing a 180. I'm going to collect living contemporary artists, artists of our time." He thought, "Crazy, Pete. What are you thinking?" And I thought, "Yeah, I'm going to do my research. There are a lot of good artists out here that I wanted to collect." And so I started doing my research, and the first artist I purchased or even met with, was an artist named Michael Ray Charles. And so Michael Ray Charles was doing all these blackface, really charged work. And I knew the artist was trying to say something, but I didn't know what. And so I was in Houston, I was dating Kim at the time, and she actually drove me to Austin to meet with Michael Ray Charles. And Darryl Walker was with me that day. We went to meet with Michael Ray Charles. And the moment I sat down with him and he started talking, a light just went off in my head, and I thought, this is what I want to do. And so I started collecting Michael's work. And I did that for this reason. When I talk about this being a mission for us, I want to, if Lord willing, 40 years from now or 30 years from now, when I'm an old man, I want to be able to tell the story. Older man. I want to be able to tell the story from my point of view. Because you always hear, I sat with Norman Lewis and he was this, or Romy Bearden was this way. You hear these stories, and I've only been able to sit down with Catlett, but I want to be able to tell it from my point of view. And so when we had our show in Flint, Michigan, and in Detroit, the catalog, the title of our show was Point of View. And so that was one of the reasons why it was titled that way, because I did that 180 to really support the artists, build relationships. Every artist in our collection we have a relationship with. There's not one artist in our collection that we don't have a relationship with, or we haven't talked to, or we haven't met. And as much as I'm buying the work, I'm also buying the artist.
Tell us about some of those studio visits. So that's really important to you in the collecting. You know the artist, you've spent time with the artist.
Yeah, I mean, Radcliffe Bailey is a good friend of mine, so I love that studio visit. But even some of the younger artists, you know, that were doing their artist in residency program with the Studio Museum in Harlem, with Delma Golden started doing the 4 series, the Frequency Show, the Freestyle Show, the 4 Show, where you saw a lot of young contemporary artists at one time. And you know, I visited with all of these artists, talked with all of these artists, and really what I was trying to get is a perspective on why they were doing visual art. You know, what were you trying to say? Were you talking about gender? Were you talking about race? Were you talking about politics? Were you talking about any one of these things? And so, you know, and I realized in that process is that, you know, the visual artists in their work are talking about all the things that we talk about every day. And they're just doing it through visual arts, and that's what drew me to the art. A lot of the artists like Aston Gates is one of my favorite artists because of how he does his art and using alternative materials, and that's something I've been interested in.
So I know Alice and Elliott have mentioned a lot about digging and reading and sort of exploring on their own, as well as the role of mentors, Darrell Walker, and I know that you have many. Maybe you'll tell us about some good colleagues that you have in a minute. But what about you, Pitt? What about you and Barbara? You know, how you got, you know, you were going to the gallery, were you looking specifically for Marston Hartley on that first date, or was that a test of Barbara to make and if she likes Marston Hartley, it's a thumbs up, and if she doesn't, it's a thumbs down?
You know, actually on that painting, we weren't. We knew, you know, generally American modernists, and I forget who sent us that painting, Robert.
Alice, wasn't it Alice Bingham?
Yeah, I think it was Alice, you know. At that time, she had she had the gallery in New York at that time. And so she sent us that painting, you know, for approval. And of course, the minute we opened the crate, you know, we knew we had to have it. It was, it really struck us. So, yeah, and, you know, of course, growing up, my mother was my mentor, you know, in art, you know, so.
Well, she made art, didn't she?
Some, yeah, but, I mean, she was more a real student of the artist. But, you know, talking about, you know, of course, most of our work is not contemporary. However, the collection, the Malone and Hyde Allison collection that we ultimately gave y'all here, you know, so many of those were, I really enjoyed getting to know the artists. Carol Poor, you know, Burton Callaghan, Ted Ferris, Dorothy Sturm, all of those that were, you know, it's really interesting to me that, you know, when I initially started collecting for the company, I had two purposes. One, to support local artists in the area we were doing business, and also, you know, embellish the office space and all. And the thing that always struck me is the quality of the Memphis artists. And, you know, I really think the College of Art had a huge part in that. And, but they, you know, stood tall relative to all the regional artists that we dealt with. And of course, that's that's a real pleasure when you know the artists themselves.
So really, art collecting went hand in hand with your building a company.
It did at the time, yeah.
Well, lucky us in the Brooks.
Well, fortunately, the company kept going, and we were able to buy more art.
Well, here's a question for you, and I'm intrigued by this as well. Tell us about the new Contemporary Gallery in Bentonville, the new big space.
Well, my nephews have kind of gotten into art since we started going. And they have gone off on their own, and they bought this deserted Kraft cheese plant in downtown Bentonville, and said, "Aunt Alice, we think that the Z generation, is that what they call them? And the X generation, or whoever all they are, need our own space." And so we are in process on a a cross art venue. It's not just the visual arts, it's all arts. And it's for the under 40 crew with a major artist in residence program. And it will be just totally experimental, and we'll figure out if we can figure out how to do this. My answer is we're in process, and we hope to open in 2019, I think.